Okay, this is a Homeland Defense and Security page, and we're going to look at non-kinetic warfare or non-warfare tactics using non-kinetic and how fuzzy the boundaries are. We're going to listen to this page being read for the sake of efficiency. This is Volume 6, Issue 2.
Emerging Technologies for Disruptive Effects in Non-Kinetic Engagements. Published by HDIAC. Posted August 29, 2019. By Joseph DeFranco, Diane D. Ulis, Ph.D., Captain L.R. Bremseth, USN SEAL Ret, L.T. Call J.J. Snow, Dr. James Giordano, Ph.D., M.Phil. Over the past decade, China's increasing activities in media and industrial acquisition, soft power messaging, development, and exploitation of international laws has made it starkly apparent that the U.S. is engaged in an innovative form of multidimensional competition. China's commitment to the scientific and technological (S&T) enterprises as specific components of current and future five-year plans emphasize an increasing reliance on, and investment in, convergent S&T approaches, e.g., cyber, nano, media, and economic, to effect dominance on the world stage. 1. This use of multiple technological pathways, coupled with pre-bellicose, non-kinetic actions and subtle yet potent influence operations demonstrates a strategic paradigm to threaten, if not suppress, U.S. global power. 2. During 2018, the Department of Defense, DoD, pressed forward on garnering both internal and external expertise to increase technology-focused efforts necessary to inform policy, acquisitions, and security strategy. 3-6. Over the past 4 years, the authors were tasked by the Department of Energy's Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory and the Donovan Group and the SOFWERX Innovation Center at United States Special Operations Command, USSOCOM, with studying the use and advantages of current and emerging technologies, ETs, by near-peer adversaries. Toward that end, an exploration of these non-kinetic, technology-enabled engagements was conducted by the group to best define the current evolution in tactics and strategy challenging U.S. national security. Non-kinetic engagements. Considerable and expanding aspects of political and military actions directed at adversely impacting, or defeating, an opponent often involve clandestine operations that can be articulated across a spectrum. These operations are frequently augmented by supporting missions that range from overt warfare to far more subtle engagements, which do not meet current criteria for explicit acts of war. Routinely, nations and actors have employed clandestine tactics and operations across kinetic and non-kinetic domains. Arguably, the execution of clandestine kinetic operations is employed more readily, as these collective activities often occur after the initiation of conflict, i.e., right of bang, and their effects may be observed and/or measured to various degrees. Given that clandestine non-kinetic activities are less visible, they may be particularly effective because they are often unrecognized and occur left of bang. Other nations, especially adversaries, understand the relative economy of force that non-kinetic engagements enable, and are increasingly focused on developing and articulating advanced methods for their operations. Much has been written about the fog of war. 7. Non-kinetic engagements can create unique uncertainties before and/or outside of traditional warfare, precisely because they have qualitatively and quantitatively fuzzy boundaries, as blatant acts of aggression. 8. The intentionally induced ambiguity of non-kinetic engagements can establish plus-sum advantages for the executors and zero-sum dilemmas for the targets. For example, a limited-scale non-kinetic action, which exerts demonstrably significant effects, but does not meet defined criteria for an act of war, places the targeted recipients at a disadvantage. First, in that the criteria for response and proportionality are vague and therefore any response could be seen as questionable. Second, in that if the targeted recipients responds with bellicose actions, there is considerable likelihood that they may be viewed as, or provoked to be, the aggressors, and therefore susceptible to some form of retaliation that may be regarded as justified.
Okay, let's talk and unpack that. What they're saying is that it's so covert and so hard to prove that if somebody does something, then they can be seen as crazy or overreacting, or it's easy to cast judgment on it because you can't prove what happened in a tangible way. The question is, who decides who gets attacked? And is this restricted to just governments? I say no. There's a lot of gang stalking and other things going on.
Non-kinetic engagements often utilize non-military means to expand the effect space beyond the conventional battlefield. The DoD and Joint Chiefs of Staff do not have a well-agreed-upon lexicon to define and to express the full spectrum of current and potential activities that constitute non-kinetic engagements. It is unfamiliar, and can be politically uncomfortable, to use non-military terms and means to describe non-kinetic engagements. And as previously noted, it can be politically difficult, if not precarious, to militarily define and respond to non-kinetic activities. Disruptive effects. Non-kinetic engagements are best employed to incur disruptive effects in and across various dimensions, e.g., biological, psychological, social, that can lead to intermediate and long-term destructive manifestations, in a number of possible domains, ranging from the economic to the geopolitical. The latent disruptive and destructive effects should be framed and regarded as grand strategy, approaches that evoke outcomes in a long engagement, long war context, rather than merely in more short-term tactical situations. 9. Thus, non-kinetic operations should be regarded as tools of mass disruption, designed to sustain compounding results that can evoke both direct and indirect destabilizing effects. These effects can occur and spread from the cellular, e.g., affecting physiological function of a targeted individual, to the socio-political scales, e.g., to manifest effects in response to threats, burdens, and harms incurred by individuals and/or groups, and b. the personal, e.g., affecting a specific individual or particular group of individuals, to the public dimensions in effect and outcome, e.g., by incurring broad-scale reactions and responses to key non-kinetic events. 10. It is important to recognize various nations' dedicated enterprises in developing methods of non-kinetic operations, e.g., China, Russia, and that such endeavors may not comport with ethical systems, principles, and restrictions of the U.S. and its allies. 12-13. These differing ethical standards and practices, when coupled to states' highly centralized abilities to coordinate and synchronize activity of the so-called triple helix of government, academia, and the commercial sector, can create synergistic force multiplying effects to mobilize resources and services that can be non-kinetically engaged. 14. Virtual currencies and nations. Attention should also be paid to the activities, roles, and viability of virtual currencies and virtual nations as capabilities to exercise disruptive effects and power. The first internet currency, FLUS, was initiated in 1999-15. However, it wasn't until 2009 that virtual currencies were actually recognized, and the first blockchain-based cryptocurrency was established. 16. But the true power of virtual currency is in its ability to support smart contracts via the blockchain algorithm. This strength has allowed legal and medical documents to be uniquely produced and secured while controlling access in a permissionful manner. By 2014, virtual nations like BitNation and Asgardia, and countries like Estonia and Bulgaria, began to offer e-residency programs for corporations and digital transients. These new entities offer services and specific benefits to digital citizens that may pose unique challenges to traditional governance structures and rules. 17-21. A virtual nation is defined as an individual, group, community, or corporate entity which derives power from access to high capital resources or high data resources, allowing for the influence and successful massing of decentralized digital power to achieve physical effects at the state, national or regional level. 22. A virtual nation may be state or non-state sponsored, it may form from collectives, or it may even be a single powerful individual. It is possible that virtual nations may revolutionize how diplomatic, information, military, and economic tools could be used in the future by both state and non-state actors who are seeking to achieve national to regional level effects without being encumbered by traditional laws governing existing nation-states. 22-23. Table 1 provides a comparison of how virtual nations and virtual currencies may enable new mechanisms for the exercise of both power and effect, either in concert or competition with existing nation-states, non-state actors, and traditional financial structures. Blockchain can drive new forms of governance, business, and security by providing a cheap and effective automated mechanism that significantly saves on transaction costs while providing a digital means to formalize relationships between assets, people, and organizations.
Okay, I'm going to stop this. Why did we go from talking about non-kinetic warfare and then we move right into currencies and blockchain and how it has to do with medical records, etc.? Here's the problem. Nobody has defined non-kinetic warfare techniques at all. When I was in college and you are doing a debate, you always start with defining your terms. The problem is they're not going to define their terms. They define the term as another term, and they define the term as another term, and then you can never really get to the bottom of it. What you have to already understand is what is already being used and alluded to in the Washington Post article on July 10th, 2023, which I'm going to reference, that talks about China and they're messing with people's brains, basically. Here's the problem. They're not really saying how. They do say something about microwaving, etc. The problem is there's the directed energy weapons. There's also scalar energy weapons, scalar energy. There's frequencies. There's all kinds of different technologies that are being used. The problem is there's voice to God. These things have been patented. These things have been used for a long time. They're not being talked about. People don't understand them intuitively or directly. And so you can understand that if somebody can alter somebody's health, alter somebody's mind, keep somebody awake, give somebody the energy waves of drugs or viruses or bacteria causing neurological issues, causing social issues, causing financial issues, for what point? For stealing. The problem with what they are saying in this article is that it makes me think of what constitutes an act of war. That's another definition. What constitutes an act of war? Where is the line between what they're doing and creating an act of war? Is an act of war when somebody dies? Is an act of war when something is stolen? What is an act of war? So all this stuff is very unclear, and they just go into a whole nother topic that's probably somewhat related, but it's unclear how this topic is related to the top of it, the article, at least from my perspective.
As well, blockchain can also serve as the foundation for virtual nations. Taken together, virtual currencies and nations can establish bases for multidimensional smart contracts. 24. Decentralized autonomous organizations are the most complex manifestation of a smart contract. Other features of smart contracts include the ability to self-verify and self-execute, provide improved security, and reduce the need for intermediaries, like existing state governments, to regulate and approve transactions. This has resulted in the recent revolution of supply chain efficiency by IBM, 15% increase in global trade volume, 5% increase in global gross domestic product, secure medical records and real-time internal hospital infectious disease detection and tracking by Spiritus partners, and the successful creation of alternative governance mechanisms that are beginning to rival existing nation-state processes and institutions in places like Cyprus, Estonia, and the United Arab Emirates. 23. Such developments can be viewed as economically evolutionary, if not revolutionary, with each and all pushing the boundaries of industry, finance, and governance to significantly change the basis of transactions across domains and dimensions of society. 23. Technologies as enabling tools in non-kinetic engagements. Nation-states, virtual nations, and state and non-state actors' abilities to exert change are enhanced both by a. Radical leveling technologies, RLTs, extant technologies that can be employed in novel ways to exert disruptive effects in certain contingencies, e.g., changes in social economic markets, vulnerabilities, and volatilities, and b. ETs, i.e., as threats, ETTs, that can be utilized for their novel properties and capabilities to exercise multifocal and multiscalar disruptions to produce transformative and destabilizing effects in support of non-kinetic engagements. See Figure 1. ETs can be particularly problematic given that they are new and may not be viewed or defined as threats, and can evoke effects which, while potent, may not be easily recognizable or attributable to the technology or the actors. Emerging technologies as threats. To date, the threat of existing radiological, nuclear, and high-yield explosive technologies has been and remains generally well surveilled and controlled. However, new and convergent innovations in the chemical, biological, cyber sciences, and engineering fields yield tools and methods that, at present, are not completely or effectively addressed by the Biological Toxin and Weapons Convention, BTWC, or Chemical Weapons Convention, CWC, 25, 1-6. An overview of these ETs is provided in Table 2. Our ongoing work focuses primarily upon the brain sciences, 10, 13, 25-32. As recently noted in the Worldwide Threat Assessment of the U.S. Intelligence Community to the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, 11, the brain sciences entail and obtain new technologies that can be applied to affect chemical and biological systems in both kinetic, e.g., chemical and biological warfare, that may sidestep definition and governance by the BTWC and/or CWC, or non-kinetic ways, which fall outside of, and therefore, are not explicitly constrained by the scope and auspices of the BTWC, CWC, or Codes of Conventional Warfare, 26-28, 33 to.
Okay, so we're going to stop this so you can look at these two diagrams, and we can zoom in on them a little bit better because it's hard to see. And I'm going to bring up what they were talking about. So let's talk about scalar energy, and can it affect the chemistry of a brain? Yes. Okay. Affecting the chemistry of the brain, can then that create an environment for parasites, funguses, bacteria, etc.? Yes. If you radiate the brain, then it makes a vacuum for all these other problems to come in. These are all in some of the issues, but they're not really saying that, just so you kind of understand the picture. So we're going to continue to go along and not really talk about or really define the terms, but non-kinetic forces. So we have kinetic engagements, non-kinetic engagements. Oh, non-kinetic enforcements, of course. What does that mean? That is the problem. Okay, you can read this for yourself. Now we have the crossover. Non-kinetic engagements versus non-kinetic warfare. And apparently the crossover activities. Kinetic forces. So this is kinetic warfare. Okay. We're still not actually defining the terms. I'm finding this very frustrating. So we have got chemical and biological warfare. Okay, that's drugs. And we say delivery systems. Boy, that leaves a lot of openings. Modified microbes. Does that sound like a parasite, a virus? What is that? A modified microbe. I've never looked at this before. Pathogenic allergy. There we go. Immunities. Organic toxins. Hello. That is exactly what I was just talking about. I haven't looked at this ahead of time. I'm listening to this for the first time and reacting to it. Because there's just only so much time. Drones. Also, I'm very dyslexic and it's hard for me to read this, so we're just having it read to me. Okay, so we've got these. So we're going to move on. Threats to national security. The problem is, what are we doing to our own citizens internally? And what creates the bar of who they can experiment on and mess with?
34. Gene editing. Apropos current events, the use of gene editing technologies and techniques to modify existing microorganisms, 35, and or selectively alter human susceptibility to disease, 36, reveals the ongoing and iterative multinational interest in and weaponizable uses of emerging biotechnologies as instruments to produce precision pathologies and incur immaculate destruction of selected targets. The advent of CRISPR-Cas-based gene editing methods has enabled a more facile approach and has re-enthused interest and capabilities rendered by such techniques. Thousands of guide RNA sequences are broadly available and foster research uses in a variety of health and scientific disciplines. 26. Pairing this new capability to target and study genetic material with other ETs, e.g., neuroscience, could engender the development of potentially hazardous genetic modifications. Of course, gene editing has limitations. Designing genetically active molecules that can target and affect the DNA in the nucleus of a cell can be arduous. Constructing molecules that are permeable to natural barriers, e.g., the blood-brain barrier, cell membranes, etc., can be difficult if they are large or chemically inapt. In some cases, these constraints can be overcome both by using ETs or other, older gene editing techniques, 37, and as CRISPR-Cas systems continue to increase in utility, i.e., with recent discoveries of additional endonuclease types and subtypes. For example, the Cas12 RNA-guided nuclease effector is a smaller and, in some cases, more functional version of Cas9, which increases the efficacy of CRISPR systems, 38. Indeed, older, alternate gene editing techniques may be used in conjunction with CRISPR-Cas systems to enable more precise genetic targeting. Zinc finger nuclease, ZFN, was one of the first archetypes of enzymatic DNA programming, 39. However, due to difficulties with ZFN design and application, methods like transcription activator-like effector, TAIL, and CRISPR-Cas systems were developed for their simplicity and effectiveness, 40, 41. Like CRISPR-Cas systems, TAILs were found to exist in situ within bacteria, 42. The TAIL gene editing system has the ability to cleave specific, desirable DNA sequences in various organisms and cell types, 43, 44. Although the technique lacks ease and speed, its high targeting capacity affords various in vivo uses. Recent research dedicated to reducing the time required to generate TAIL systems may render these applications more facile and viable for use either alone or with CRISPR-based approaches in the future, 45. CRISPR-Cas nucleases can be easily programmed to target a DNA segment of interest by pairing them with guide RNA, 46. Currently, CRISPR-Cas systems are widely recognized as a superior gene editing technology. But like any molecular technique, CRISPR-Cas-based methods can be unsuccessful in vivo for numerous reasons. For instance, modifying genetic material can invoke cellular defense mechanisms to repair altered genes, sometimes rendering the modification null, or induce apoptosis, i.e., cell death. Additionally, limited cellular uptake of CRISPR can constrain effects and outcomes. These restrictions have been overcome in recent studies that have inhibited DNA damage caused by CRISPR-Cas9, 47, or have used gene delivery vectors to enhance uptake and optimize results, 48, 49. Extant unknowns of genomics, proteomics, and neuroscience can both limit CRISPR utility and/or lead to a host of unanticipated, but not necessarily unusable, effects that can be leveraged to influence public health and national security. For example, controlling, if not suppressing, off-target effects is necessary for a successful gene editing system. However, while off-target mutations may be a problem for therapeutics or the enhancement of organisms, such off-target manifestations might not be problematic, or in some cases may be desirable, when using gene editing technology to design a weapon to induce broad-ranging effects. To be sure, if intended objectives of morbidity or lethality were obtained, it is likely that other, non-morbid or non-lethal, off-target effects would be viewed as less important or disregarded altogether. Further, the use of a combinatory approach, i.e., examining all gene editing systems and/or technologies for their utility, may increase the ease of genetically modifying benign microbes and proteins to be pathogenic and altering extant pathogens so as to make them more dangerous. These methods could possibly be used to engineer bioagents that evade detection or attribution. Table 1. Characteristics of real and virtual nations and currencies, 23. Biodata.
Okay, so we're going to zoom in on this chart so that you can read it. China, Germany, Russia, United Kingdom. Well, of course, we're not going to talk about what United States does, which I find ridiculous. Okay, so this is China. Okay, the problem and what they're basically saying is that they can give you a disease, they can give you a virus, they can mess with your DNA to cause problems, to cause death in your cells, to cause cancers, to cause all kinds of other things that can't be proven. Because it just looks like you got sick naturally, you got a brain tumor, something happened, yada yada. This is scary, scary stuff. It can be done on a mass scale or can be done individually.
CRISPR may also be used to perform rapid, comprehensive screens of specific genes and the phenotypes they produce, 50. This information could be utilized to reveal ways that certain individuals and/or groups could be specifically targeted. We have referred to these various categories of information as biodata, noting that ETs such as CRISPR, taken with multimodal information.
Okay, so basically you're being called biodata. Your country, your military, your leaders, you, if you're on a list, other people in another country, if you messed with, oh, your biodata. It's great.
From other forms of assessment, e.g., neuroimaging, biomarkers, have broadened the scope of potential variables that may be identified, accessed, assessed, and, perhaps, ultimately affected, 51. The digitization of biology, i.e., information about the genetic code, translated proteins, and/or related metadata, is an unexploited quarry of opportunity for any actor who wishes to specifically target an organism. To be sure, there are concerns about breaches of individual privacy and how such biodata might be interpreted and used to incur certain biases in the ways that individuals or groups are viewed and/or treated. But additional considerations must now be afforded to the risk and threat of physical harms that could be incurred through access to such information.
Yeah, why did everybody send in, to find out where they're from and what kind of information did you give? And every time you give your blood, etc., where is all of your information actually going? You're not getting the best information.
In this light, biodata may be of even greater concern if and when neuropsychiatrically relevant. Such information could be used to identify individual and group susceptibilities and vulnerabilities to particular agents and effects, which may be instrumental in gene-edited production of novel and more precise microbes, toxins, antigens, or drugs. Moreover, biodata can be manipulated to change individual and group medical records in ways that can influence the tenor and scope of clinical care, if not social, legal, and political regard. Nanoengineering. Nanotechnology is a relatively new science that examines and engineers particles and devices at an atomic or molecular level, 1-100 nanometers. Nanoscience and engineering have been, and are increasingly viewed for their viability to create neurotoxic, neuropathologic agents. 34. A recent review has raised concerns about incomplete effectiveness of protective barriers against the penetrance of nanomaterials to the brain, and this may afford an opportunity for vectoring these substances to the cerebral space to exert a variety of uses. 52. Specifically, attention was focused upon the potential of nanomaterials to induce neuroinflammation, oxidative stress, neuronal cell death, and to alter production of various neuroactive chemicals and affect network properties of the brain. Evidence shows that nanoparticles can access the central nervous system via a number of routes. Uptake of nanoparticles through the nasal cavity can directly reach the brain through the olfactory tract, and because neurons have the capability to assimilate nanoparticles, the effect can spread throughout the brain. Pulmonary intake involves nanoparticles first crossing the lung-blood barrier, and subsequently the blood-brain barrier, to affect the nervous system. Translocation of nanoparticles from the gut and/or skin to the brain have also been documented, but the efficiency and potency of those routes are less understood. 52. Current applications of nanotechnology include a. The insertion of nanodevices to remotely control organisms. b. Creation of nanocarriers capsules which could be used to transport molecules, carrying chemicals, proteins, or DNA, RNA, across membranes and the blood-brain barrier to target specific tissues or organs, and c. Development of novel neurological molecules that are less, or not, susceptible to current countermeasures and/or therapeutics. 53. Nanomaterials can also be employed to enhance other ETs. As stated above, natural barriers can inhibit or reduce the penetrance and action of CRISPR molecules in the brain, and nanocarriers have been developed to increase the assimilation of CRISPR molecules into targeted cells. 54 to 56. Although still underexploited for its kinetic and non-kinetic potential, nanotechnology is being explored for its dual or direct military use by a number of nations, including the U.S., see Table 3. Toward address, mitigation.
Okay, we're pausing this so we can look at this. Increased awareness. Department of Defense, Homeland Security, This one is really hard to read. The bottom one, it's got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pointed star. The witchcraft star. And how many stars, little stars, do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, apparently. Whatever that stands for. I don't know what this is. I can't even read it. It's too nondescript. It's over here too. Okay.
And prevention. Without philosophical understanding of, and technical insight to, the ways that non-kinetic engagements entail and affect civilian, political, and military domains, coordinated assessment and response to any such engagements becomes procedurally complicated and politically difficult. Therefore, we propose and advocate increasingly dedicated efforts to enable sustained, successful surveillance, assessment, mitigation, and prevention of development and use of RLTs and ETTs to national security. We posit that implementing these goals will require coordinated focal activities to a. Increase awareness of radical leveraging and ETs that can be utilized as non-kinetic threats. b. Quantify the likelihood and extent of threats posed. c. Counter identified threats. And d. Prevent or delay adversarial development of future threats. See Figure 2. Indubitably, there are novel risks associated with misuse of the information and capabilities conferred by RLTs and ETTs. It should be presumed that access to such information and tools by bad actors is high, as many databases are openly shared, and those that are not shared have been, or may be vulnerable to hacking. 51. Access to this information and capability increasingly enables non-kinetic engagements, thereby fortifying the need to identify, meet, assess, and counter novel threats. Exemplary of such enterprise is the development and growth of a relatively new discipline, cyber biosecurity, which focuses upon evaluation, mitigation, and prevention of unwanted surveillance, intrusions, and malicious actions within cyber systems of the biomedical sciences. 57. However, for cyber biosecurity, or
Okay, I'm going to pause this. I do think the FBI has a 9-pointed star. United States something. So I don't know what that is. Can't tell. Sorry, I'm still thinking about it. We'll go back to listening to this.
Any program of coordinated assessment, mitigation, and prevention, to exert a sustained and iterative effect, it must exist within and be synergized by a larger infrastructure of dedicated effort. Toward this end, we pronounce the need for a whole-of-nation approach to mobilize the organizations, resources, and personnel required to meet other nations' synergistic triple helix capabilities to develop and non-kinetically engage RLTs and ETTs. See Figure 2. Utilizing this approach will necessitate establishment of 1. An office, or network of offices, to coordinate academic and governmental research centers to study and evaluate current and near-future non-kinetic threats. 2. Methods to qualitatively and quantitatively identify threats and the potential timeline and extent of their development. 3. A variety of means for protecting the U.S. and allied interests from these emerging threats. And 4. Computational approaches to create and support analytic assessments of threats across a wide range of ETs that may be leveraged and afford purchase in non-kinetic engagements. In light of other nations' activities in this domain, we view non-kinetic deployment of ETs as a clear and viable future threat. 1158. Therefore, as previously stated, 28, 33, 34, and reiterated here, we believe actions should not focus on whether such methods will be utilized, but rather when, to what extent, and by which groups will such use be possible, and most importantly, ensuring the U.S. and its allies will be prepared for these threats when they are rendered. Disclaimer. The opinions expressed in this article are those of the authors, and do not necessarily reflect those of the United States Department of Defense, United States Special Operations Command, and/or the organizations with which the authors are involved. Acknowledgements. The authors thank Sherry Lovelace for editorial assistance. Support for this work was provided.
Oh my gosh, so this is on their website, but then they say they don't. Unbelievable.
In part by J5 Donovan Group, USSOCOM, JD, JG, the United States Air Force, JJS, CSCI, LRB, JG, and Georgetown University Medical Center, JG.
Okay, wow. So that Georgetown University Medical Center, this comes up again. There is, they're fundamental in messing with people's brains. I've seen it in other videos.
References. 1. Chowdhury, S.R., 2017, November 12th. Chinese M&A. China outbound mergers and acquisitions to rise in 2018. CNBC. Retrieved from https://www.cnbc.com/amp/2017/11/12/Chinese-ma-china-outbound-mergers-and-acquisitions-2018.html. 2. Xu, J, and Donnie, B.C., 2018, October 26. China targeted M&A re-emerges in Spock World. New York Law Journal. Retrieved from https://www.law.com/NewYork Law Journal/2018/10/26/China targeted-ma-re-emerges-in-Spock-world/?SL return equals 20190307100213. 3. U.S. Department of Defense. 2018, December. Assessment on U.S. defense implications of China's expanding global access. Retrieved from https://media.defense.gov/2019/jan/14/2000-1/expanding-global-access-report-final.pdf. 4. Lewis, J.A., 2018, November 30th, Technological Competition and China. Center for Strategic and International Studies. Retrieved from https://chis-pro.s3.amazon.com/s3fs-public/publication/181130_and_China.pdf. 5. Ferdinando, L., 2018, April 18th. DoD must be more agile in technology development, official says. U.S. Department of Defense. DoD News, Defense Media Activity. Retrieved from https://dod.defense.gov/news/article/1497393. 6. Mauchoni, S., 2019, March 13th. DoD 2020 budget puts heavy emphasis on development of emerging technologies. Federal News Radio. Retrieved from https://federalnewsnetwork.com/defense-main/2020-03/.-2020-budget-puts-heavy-emphasis-on-development-of-emerging-technologies/amp/. 7. Owens, W.A., and Offley, E., 2001. Lifting the Fog of War. Baltimore, Maryland, Johns Hopkins University Press. 8. A fuzzy boundary exists within a fuzzy set and describes a concept or condition in which the application can vary according to context or circumstances. C. Hawk, S., 1996. Deviant Logic, Fuzzy Logic, Beyond the Formalism. Chicago, University of Chicago Press. 9. Davis, Z., and Nocht, M., eds. 2018, February. Strategic Latency, Red, White, and Blue. Managing the National and International Security Consequences of Disruptive Technologies. Livermore, California. Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory Center for Global Security Research. Retrieved from https://cgsr.llnl.gov/content/assets/docs/state-gic_latency_bookweb.pdf. 10. Giordano, J., 2017. Battlescape Brain, Engaging Neuroscience in Defense Operations. Journal of the Homeland Defense and Security Information Analysis Center, 3, 4, 13-16. Retrieved from https://www.hdiac.org/wp-content/upload/2018/04/cbrn_Battlescape Brain Engaging Neuroscience in Defense Operations 1.pdf. 11. Coates, D., 2019. Worldwide Threat Assessment of the U.S. Intelligence Community to the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Retrieved from https://www.intelligence.senate.gov/sites/defaults/files/documents/os-decodes-0129119.pdf. 12. Chen, C., Andriola, J., and Giordano, J., 2018, February. Biotechnology, Commercial Veiling, and Implications for Strategic Latency. The Exemplar of Neuroscience and Neurotechnology Research and Development in China. In Strategic Latency, Red, White, and Blue. Managing the National and International Security Consequences of Disruptive Technologies, 12-32. Livermore, California. Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory Center for Global Security Research. 13. Palchik, G., Chen, C., and Giordano, J., 2017. Monkey Business, Development, Influence, and Ethics of Potentially Dual-Use Brain Science on the World Stage. Neuroethics, 11, 1, 111-114. doi, 10.1007 per second 12152-017-93089. 14. Etzkowitz, H., and Leidsdorf, L., 2000. The Dynamics of Innovation. From National Systems and Mode 2 inches to a triple helix of university-industry-government relations. Research Policy 29 2 109 to 123. DOI 10.1016 per second 0048 7333 99000554. 15. Higgins, S. 2014, December 1st. 3 pre-Bitcoin virtual currencies that bit the dust. CoinDesk. Pre-Bitcoin-virtual-currencies bit-dust $?AMP. 16. Soli, S. 2016, September 12. I became a citizen of BitNation, a blockchain-powered virtual nation. Now what? Motherboard. Retrieved from https://motherboard.vice.com/amp/n_zyg5x7/bitnation-or-bust. 17. Campbell, R. 2018, March.
Okay, let's talk about some of these different platforms. So there's been a few platforms. We're not going to get into all the names. I'm sure I don't know all of them. But there's been a few platforms where you can buy currencies and then they supposedly get hacked and then come down. And then several years later, they'll send you some piece of paper by email. Not a piece of paper, but whatever. You can fill out all this crap and then you can get back the value that you lost, but not like where your investment would be if it was allowed to stay in where you had it. So they make it very difficult. This has also happened with some other foreign currencies, like the dinar. There was different agencies that got taken down supposedly by the FBI in that case, where people lost their money. Some of them sent out things. I think that some of this stuff is done for currency manipulation. Also, I've noticed on Coinbase, when there's huge spikes, they will make it hard so that I can't see what my own balances are. And it's like they internally changed it and turned it off, which I didn't do. And so it like makes you frustrated. You go in to check your balance, you can't see it. You're annoyed, you don't have time to mess with it. And then by the time you get in there, you realize that that happened strategically on the huge spike. So you weren't able to look so that you couldn't sell out. So I feel like some of this stuff is used to manipulate the little guy, to hold people's currencies, to hold the price. So if you're like a platform and you have all these people who've invested and you basically take down the whole platform, then those people can't buy or sell that currency, can they? And then you're holding their investment at a certain price. What a bunch of BS. I'm just commenting. I don't know how this fits into this topic. Non-kinetic warfare, whatever. How do you validate what's warfare, what isn't? What's currency manipulation? I think it's really interesting that the first thing that came up under non-kinetic, where they were talking about the cryptocurrencies, and they're basically trying to take away all of the paper money and go to our money and cryptocurrencies and everything offline. So I don't really know how that fits into this, but I'm sure it somehow does.
Screw borders. BitNation lets you create blockchain-powered virtual nations. The Next Web. Retrieved from https://thenextweb.com. Cryptocurrency. The 23rd of March 2018. Screw borders. BitNation lets you create blockchain-powered virtual nations. 18. Gallego, J. 2016, March 11th. BitNation launches the first virtual constitution. Futurism. Retrieved from https://futurism.com/BitNation launches world's first virtual constitution. Virtual nation, AMP. 19. Lo, A. 2017, November 16th. Asgardia, the world's first space nation, takes flight. CNN. Retrieved from https://www.cnn.com/style/amp/asgardia-satellite-launch/index. 20. Harvey, B. 2018, August 3rd. Asgardia, The Problems in Building a Space Society. BBC. Retrieved from http://www.bbc.com/future/stories/2018-future/problems-in-building-a-space-society. 21. Allender, A. 2018, June 20th. What is Estonian e-residency and how to take advantage of it? Leapin. Retrieved from https://www.leapin.eu/articles/e-residency. 22. Heymans, J. and Timms, H. 2014, December. Understanding New Power. Harvard Business Review. Retrieved from https://hbr.org/2014/12/understanding-new-power. 23. Snow, J. 2018, August 27th. Dealing with Virtual Nations, Operating at Speed in Technology-Influenced Environments. Paper presented at the U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command, TRDOC, Mad Scientist Initiative Meeting, National Intelligence University, Washington, D.C. 24. Smart contracts provide a transparent, immutable, iterative mechanism for exchange, verification, and implementation of negotiations and/or functions inherent to a conventional contract. Unlike a conventional contract, they evolve over time to afford flexibility to differentially favor each actor. C. Sabo, N. 1997, September. Formalizing securing relationships on public networks. First Monday, 2, 9. Retrieved from https://ojphi.org/ojs/index.php/fm/article/view/548/469. 25. Gerstein, D., and Giordano, J. 2017. Rethinking the Biological and Toxin Weapons Convention? Health Security, 15, 6, 638-641. doi, 10.1089 per hectosecond.2017.0082. 26. D. Ulis, D., and Giordano, J. 2017. Why gene editors like CRISPR, Cas may be a game-changer for neuroweapons. Health Security, 15, 3, 296-302. doi, 10.1089 per hectosecond.2016.0120. 27. Giordano, J. 2017. Weaponizing the Brain, Neuroscience Advancements Spark Debate. National Defense, 6, 17-19. 28. Giordano, J., and Wersman, R. 2011. Neurotechnology as Weapons in National Intelligence and Defense, an Overview. Synesis. A Journal of Science, Technology, Ethics and Policy, 2, 138-151. Retrieved from http://www.synesis-journal.com/volume2_no2_T1/2_1.pdf. 29. Giordano, J., Forsyth, C., and Olds, J., 2010, April. Neuroscience, Neurotechnology, and National Security. The Need for Preparedness and an Ethics of Responsible Action. AJOB Neuroscience, 1, 2, 35-36. doi, 10.1080, 21,507,741,003,699,397. 30. Giordano, J., 2016, May 31st. The Neuroweapons Threat, Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, 72, 3, 1-4. Retrieved from https://thebulletin.org/2016/05/the-neuroweapons-threat-2/. 31. Nixdorf, K., Borisova, T., Komisarenko, S., and Dando, M., 2018, December. Dual-Use Nano-Neurotechnology, Politics and the Life Sciences, 37, 2, 180-202. doi, 10.1017, PLS.2018.15. 32. Accardi, C., and Bitch, L., 2018, December 21st. Opinion on Responsible Dual Use from the Human Brain Project. Human Brain Project. Retrieved from https://www.humanbrainproject.eu/n/follow-hbp/news/opinion-on-responsible-dual-use-from-the-human-brain-project/. 33. Forsyth C. and Giordano, J. 2011. On the Need for Neurotechnology in the National Intelligence and Defense Agenda, Scope and Trajectory. Synesis. A Journal of Science, Technology, Ethics and Policy, 2, 1, T5T8. Retrieved from http://www.synesis-journal.com/volume2_no2_t1/4-5_2_1.pdf. 34. Giordano, J., ed. 2015. Neurotechnology in National Security and Defense. Practical Considerations, Neuroethical Concerns, Advances in Neurotechnology. Boca Raton, CRC Press. 35. D. Ulis, D., and Giordano, J., 2017. Gene Editing Using CRISPR-Cas9. Implications for Dual Use and Biosecurity. Protein and Cell, 9, 3, 239-240. doi, 10.1007 per second 13238-017-04934. 36. Bellas, J., 2019, January 22nd. Is the CRISPR baby controversy the start of a terrifying new chapter in gene editing? Vox. Retrieved from https://www.vox.com/science-and-health/2018/11/30/181195889/CRISPR-gene-editing-he-geonkui. 37. C. For example, Elbashir, S.M., Harberth, J., Lendekel, W., Yulchim, A., Weber, K., and Tuschl, T. 2001, May 24. Duplexes of 21 nucleotide RNAs mediate RNA interference in cultured mammalian cells. Nature 411, 494-498. doi, 10.1038, 35,078,107. 38. Yan, W., Honeywell, P., Alphonse, L., Cart, J., Keston Smith, E., Suthersilvam, S., and Scott, D., 2018. Functionally Diverse Type versus CRISPR-Cas Systems. Science, 363, 6422, 88-91. doi, 10.1126/science.ov7271. 39. Kim, Y., Cha, J., and Chandrasegaran, S., 1996. Hybrid Restriction Enzymes, Zinc Finger Fusions to Foc-I Cleavage Domain. Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, 93, 3, 1156-1160. doi, 10.1073, PNAS.93.3.1156. 40. Nemudri, AA, Valentinova, KR, Medvedev, SP, and Zakian, SM, 2014. TALEN and CRISPR-Cas Genome Editing Systems, Tools of Discovery. Acta Natura, 6, 3, 19-40. Retrieved from https://www.ncb. nlm.nih.gov/pmc/articles/pmc4207558/pdf/and 20758251-22-019.pdf. 41. Lee, H., Sundberg, B., Sigafus, A., and Clark, K., 2016, April. Genome Engineering with Tail and CRISPR Systems in Neuroscience. Frontiers in Genetics, 7. doi, 10.3389, fgene.2016.00047. 42. Bach, J., Scholes, H., Shornick, S., Landreth, A., Hahn, S., K., S., and Bonas, U., 2009. Breaking the code of DNA binding specificity of tall type 3 effectors. Science, 326, 5959, 1509-1512. doi, 10.1126, science.11788811. 43. Miller, J.C., Tan, S., Chow, G., Barlow, K.A., Wang, J., Shaw, D.F., and Dulé, G.P., 2011. A Tail Nuclease Architecture for Efficient Genome Editing. Nature Biotechnology, 29, 2, 143-148. doi, 10.1038, NBT.1755. 44. Jung, J., and Sander, J., 2012. Talons. A widely applicable technology for targeted genome editing. Nature Reviews Molecular Cell Biology, 14, 1, 49-55. doi, 10.1038, NRM 3486. 45. Zhang, S., Chen, H., and Wang, J., 2019, June 14. Generate tail, TALEN as easily and rapidly as generating CRISPR. Molecular Therapy. Methods and Clinical Development, 13, 310-320. doi, 10.1016/J.OMAME.2019.02.004. 46. Dunbar, C., Hai, K., Jung, J., Kohn, D., Ozawa, K., and Sadolin, M., 2018. Gene Therapy Comes of Age. Science, 359, 6372, EN 4672. doi, 10.1126/science.on4672. 47. Hoppaniemi, E., Botla, S., Pearson, J., Schmurer, B., and Typale, J., 2018. CRISPR-Cas9 genome editing induces AP53-mediated DNA damage response. Nature Medicine, 24, 7, 927-930. doi, 10.1038 per second 41591-0180049Z. 48. Cotterman, M.A., and Schaefer, D.V., 2014. Engineering Adeno-Associated Viruses for Clinical Gene Therapy. Nature Reviews Genetics, 15, 7, 445. doi, 10.1038, NRG 3742. 49. Gage, T., Epstein, B.E., and Schaefer, D.V., 2016. Genome Engineering Using Adeno-Associated Virus, Basic and Clinical Research Applications. Molecular Therapy, 24, 3, 458-464. doi, 10.1038, Mount 2015.15150. Tarasova, K, O, E, Eckert, C, and Gill, R, 2018. CRISPR-enabled tools for engineering microbial genomes and phenotypes. Biotechnology Journal, 13, 9, 1,700,586. doi, 10.1002, BO.2017000586. 51. D. Ulis, D. 2018. Biodata Risks and Synthetic Biology, A Critical Juncture. Journal of Bioterrorism and Biodefense, 09-01. doi, 10.4172/2526.1000159. 52. Benchik, A., Lestavel, P., and Gaseva Canu, I., 2018. Nano and Neurotoxicology, An Emerging Discipline. Progress in Neurobiology, 160, 45-63. doi, 10.1016J, Neurobio.2017.10.003. 53. Nasu, H., and McLaughlin, R., eds. 2014. New Technologies and the Law of Armed Conflict. The Hague, TMC Asser Press. 54. Lee, B., Lee, K., Panda, S., Gonzalez Rojas, R., Chong, A., Bugay, V., and Lee, H., 2018. Nanoparticle delivery of CRISPR into the brain rescues a mouse model of Fragile X syndrome from exaggerated repetitive behaviors. Nature Biomedical Engineering, 2, 7, 497 to 507. doi, 10.1038, S41551, 018025228. 55. Lin, Y, Wu, J, Gu, W, Huang, Y, Tong, Z, Huang, L, and Tan, J, 2018. Exosome-liposome hybrid nanoparticles deliver CRISPR-Cas9 system in MSCs. Advanced Science, 5, 4, 1,700,611. doi, 10.1002, advies.201700611. 56. Li, M, Fan, Y, Chen, Z, Luo, Y, Wang, Y, Lian, Z, and Wang, J, 2018. Optimized nanoparticle-mediated delivery of CRISPR-Cas9 system for B-cell intervention. Nano Research, 11, 12, 6270-6282. doi, 10.1007 per second 12274-018-21505. 57. Peckoud, J, Gallegos, J, Merck, R, Buchholz, W, and Rahman, S, 2018. Cyberbiosecurity, From Naive Trust to Risk Awareness. Trends in Biotechnology, 36, 1, 4-7. doi, 10.1016J. Tibtech.2017.10.012. 58. Pillsbury, M, 2016. The 100-Year Marathon. China's Secret Strategy to Replace America as the Global Superpower. New York, New York, Street Martins, Griffin.
We might as well just say the New World Order, because they were putting strategic people in China back in the 1950s when you couldn't even get in there if you're a regular person in the banking industry, etc., Masons, blah, blah, blah. All right. I had my car going with the two audios, so I hope it wasn't dual audio, because I don't think I'm going to record this again, or at least not now. We put all of this in a Yahuwah template. We say, Yahuwah rebuke thee, as in Jude 9, to anything that is not of Yeshua in Yeshua's kingdom. We pray for all of us and our well-being, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, etherically, and we ask for all contracts to be undone, and any agreements that are not good or any wrong information that we have gotten here. We just ask that Yeshua would help us to undo it. And we just bless everybody. And we file all of this in our hearts, minds, and souls in all times in all lives, past, present, and future. Thank you. Bye.